All right, let's dive right into this explainer because today we are completely dismantling your traditional slow approach to reading comprehension. Look, if you're gearing up for a competitive exam, you've probably been fed the same old advice, right? Carefully read and understand every single word of the passage. Well, today, we're literally throwing that advice right out the window. Instead, we're going to break down a highly strategic system designed to help you conquer any passage in under 8 minutes.
Just think about the number 16 for a second. Most students drag through 12 to 15 minutes on a single reading comprehension passage. But if you can slash that down to 8 minutes, across 3 or 4 passages, you're banking 16 whole minutes. Sticking to that standard 12 to 15 minute pace costs you those 16 minutes across an exam, and honestly, that literally kills your chances of finishing the section. I mean, to put that into perspective, 16 minutes is enough time to crush an entire quantitative ability or logical reasoning section.
So, how do we actually get that time back? Well, here's your highly tactical, minute-by-minute mission briefing to conquer any passage in under 8 minutes. We're going to cover the reading trap, 3 non-negotiable rules, Phase 1, which is the map, Phase 2, which is the hunt, and finally, the emergency protocol. Let's get into it. Starting off with Section 1, the reading trap. The core idea here? Simple. Don't read everything. 40%. That single percentage is the absolute paradigm shift you need right now. From here on out, you will only read 40 to 50% of the passage. And hey, it really helps to let go of the idea that an 8-minute passage is all about speed reading. Because honestly, it's not. It's actually about strategic skipping, aggressive elimination, and focusing purely on extracting answers. We are definitely not here to appreciate the author's beautiful prose, right? We're here to score points faster than the average test taker. Moving on to Section 2, 3 non-negotiable rules. These are your foundational rules of engagement. All right, rule number 1, do not read the full passage. Seriously, a 500-word passage takes nearly 2 minutes just to read, which leaves you basically 0 time for the questions. You've got to aggressively skip text. Rule number 2, answer fact questions first. Always hunt for those easy points to build your momentum. And rule number 3, this is a big one, eliminate 4 options, do not try to pick one. Directly picking the right answer requires perfect understanding, and frankly, we just don't have time for that. Instead, your job is to look for flaws to eliminate the wrong options rather than seeking perfection. Notice the stark contrast here between these question types. You absolutely must solve fact questions first to build that momentum and save the inference questions for last. Why? Because fact questions take about 30 seconds. They are your easy, guaranteed points. Inference questions, on the other hand, are dangerous traps that can easily suck up 2 full minutes of your time. If you jump into an inference question first, get stuck, and start panicking, you're going to ruin your pacing for the entire section. Now for Section 3, Phase 1, the map. This is where we map the battlefield without trying to understand the whole war. Okay, so you're on a ticking clock, and here is your exact timeline for the first 3.5 minutes. From minute 0 to 30 seconds, you scan the questions, you read only the question stems, no options, ignore those for now, and just label them fact, inference, main idea, or tone. Then, from 30 seconds to 2.5 minutes, you do your first pass reading. That's that 40% read we just talked about. Finally, from minute 230 to 330, you finish up with 1 to 3 word marginal annotations per paragraph. Now, you might be wondering, during that critical 2-minute first pass, what are you actually reading? Well, just these structural elements. The first sentence of each paragraph, the last sentence of the last paragraph, sentences with contrast words, things like however or but, and author opinion signals like surprisingly. And what do you skip? You completely ignore long examples. So if there's a deep dive into London smog in the 1950s, skip it. Skip the lists, skip the dense numbers. Basically, if you find yourself spending more than 15 seconds on a single sentence, you're reading too much. Skip it and move on. Which brings us to Section 4, Phase 2, the hunt. You're at minute 3.5, the map is drawn, and it's time to extract those answers. Let's break down the timeline for the back half of your 8 minutes. You're going to dedicate 3 full minutes, from 3:30 to 6:30, to hunting down those easy fact questions. You navigate back using the keywords you found during your scan, and you read only 2 lines above and 2 lines below that keyword. That's it. Then, from 6:30 to 7:30, you spend exactly 1 minute on main idea and tone questions. And finally, you leave only your final 30 seconds from 7:30 to 8 o'clock for those dreaded inference questions. When you're evaluating these fact questions, you can actually eliminate 4 options in under 30 seconds simply by asking if they are opposite, extreme, or out of scope.
For example, if an option says increased agriculture, but the passage explicitly states the economy transformed from agrarian to industrial, then that option is the exact opposite. Boom, eliminate it. Or if an option uses an extreme phrase like complete disregard, but the passage says some owners were actually aware, well, eliminate that too. Spotting one single flaw in an option is just so much faster than trying to confirm every tiny detail of the correct answer. Now, what about those main idea and tone questions? For main idea, you do not reread the middle paragraphs. Why? Because they're packed with trap details that are way too narrow to be the main idea. You read only the first 2 lines of paragraph 1 and the last 2 lines of the last paragraph. And for tone, you are trying to magically guess the author's mood. You're just looking for emotional words. Does the text literally say fortunately? Then it's a positive tone. Does it say unfortunately or dubious? Negative tone. It is a purely analytical process.
Okay, so what happens right at the end of your 8 minutes? What if you literally only have 30 seconds left for an inference question? Look, if your confidence is low and time is up, you just eliminate the options with extreme words like always or never, take a guess, usually B or C since statistically they hit more often in these exams, and move on without a single ounce of guilt. Seriously, spending 2 full minutes agonizing over a 1-point inference question while sacrificing 2 easy fact questions later on is a massive losing trade.
All right, Section 5, the emergency protocol. What happens if things go sideways and you only have 6 minutes left? Imagine you're staring at 3 passages with only 20 minutes left on the clock. It happens. When it does, you deploy this 6-minute emergency strategy. First, you scan and identify only the fact questions. Then, you read only the first sentence of each paragraph and the last sentence of the passage. You answer only those fact questions in 45 to 60 seconds each using keyword navigation. And for literally everything else, inference, main idea, tone, you just eliminate extreme options and guess. This strategy guarantees you extract the easy points, yielding about 3 correct answers per passage, and secures a competitive score even under extreme pressure. To make this whole 8-minute blueprint a reality, you need to use this rapid-fire mental checklist. Honestly, print this out and run through it before every single practice passage to lock in your discipline. Ask yourself, did I scan only the stems for 30 seconds? Did I mark fact, inference, main idea, tone? Did I eliminate 4 options instead of trying to pick one? Because if any of these boxes are unchecked during your practice, you are right back on track for a 10+ minute passage. You've got to spot those habits and fix them. As we wrap up this explainer, I want you to take this final thought into your next exam. I am not a reader. I am a surgeon with a scalpel. I cut out only what I need. Everything else is noise. Just remember, non-readers consistently beat readers on these exams, and it's not through some natural talent, but through strict, unyielding discipline. So start practicing this 8-minute system today, stick to your timeline, and ask yourself, are you going to keep reading every single word, or are you finally going to start extracting your score?